I want to talk about being a parent in an age of violent fascism and how we respond to it, which is a subject I cover in this book. So many tweens and teens have seen overwhelming evidence of state violence, ICE raids, the murders of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Many are aware of the genocide in Gaza in response to the October the 7th attack, which is almost always decontextualized. But they've also seen Luigi memes, clips of the Correspondence Dinner shooter set to yakety sax, remixes of Hassan Piker to make it sound like he's raising an army of Che Guevaras. They are awash in Kirkification memes. But what is rare is exposure to legit traditions of resistance that go beyond electoralism and permitted marches where the cops stand smiling on the curb. And it's hard to have a fact-based conversation about the many forms of resistance because the dominant social change education provides whitewashed stories like Martin Luther King Jr. was a nonviolent saint who worked in opposition to Malcolm X and Kwame Ture instead of increasingly in concert with them. So we grow up seeing images of them in their Sunday best crossing that bridge. I didn't see any pictures of the Black Panthers on armed patrol until I was in college. The institutional alternative to the online chaos is a liberal lie that the state offers protection to all, abides by its own laws, and that real power changes through rational procedures. And I believe teaching this alone to young people is a form of moral and intellectual abuse that sets them up to not only believe in a fantasy, but to be unconscious and conservative defenders of it. So my book includes a discussion of the work of Ben Case on the history of resistance tactics, because he shows that various forms of non-armed and armed resistance, and things like property damage, have been features of all social change movements. He argues that it's better to understand how that works or doesn't work instead of demanding absolute commitments to nonviolence that comply with what capitalists want. Now, I'm careful to say that kids should not be involved in any of this before they are of legal age, but it's worth them thinking about it now as they sort through the flood of images and information. And I don't advocate for one position or action or another, but rather show how things are theorized, how they work, and how they don't work. So I use a range of popular examples: Punching Richard Spencer, cathartic but ambivalent in result, to Luigi, adventurous and ineffective, to Andreas Malm's How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which is well planned and in solidarity with First Nations land defense movements, but very risky and potentially accelerationist. So the chapter is called Community Defense, and it's about the full spectrum of resistance at many levels of accessibility, as Eric McBay puts it. The discussion is pragmatic and strategic and meditates on the moral consequences of causing harm for a greater good. My aim was to offer a Socratic consideration to give meaning to an online fever dream and to counter two extremes: the pacifists on one side, and on the other side, folks who are too eager to talk about using force without thinking or feeling it through.